Hello friends, welcome back to this online lecture series on earthquake resistant design of structures. As you all know, we are discussing the different codal provisions for IS 1893, that is the criteria for design of earthquake resistant structures. In the previous lecture, we have started the discussion regarding the plan irregularity, that is what is the plan irregularity, what are the different categories that are mentioned in IS 1893, and at the same time the criteria for definition of this plan irregularity and the modifications that the code are suggesting were also discussed in the previous lecture. In today's lecture, our focus will be on the other type of irregularity, which is also very important, and that type of irregularity is the vertical irregularity, right? So as we have discussed last time, that the performance of building with regular structures has been observed to be far much better as compared to that of irregular structures, and that is why the attempt should be made to eliminate the irregularity in the structural configuration as well as in the modification of through modification in the architectural planning wherever possible, right? And wherever the possibility of modification is not there, then in that case, in majority of the cases, the code is suggesting the use of dynamic analysis method, that is either the time history method or the response spectrum method, right? And in case of high seismic zones, that is zone 3, 4 and 5, the code is suggesting that the use of irregularity or irregular configuration in the structure should be avoided wherever possible, right? So in today's lecture, our focus of discussion is on the vertical irregularity, the presence of vertical irregularity in the structure. Now, as in the case of plan irregularities was that if any of the one feature or any of the one condition that is listed here is present in the structure, then that particular structure will be defined as an irregular structure. In case of plan irregularity, we saw that 5 different types of irregularity is shown. Similarly, in case of vertical irregularities, 7 different types of irregularities are discussed by IS 1893-2016. Now, which are these 7 categories or 7 different types of vertical irregularities that we can have in a structure? That is, the first type of irregularity is known as the stiffness irregularity, which is also known as the soft story. Then the second type of irregularity is the mass irregularity. Third is the vertical geometrical irregularity. Fourth is the in-plane offset or in-plane discontinuity in the vertical elements. The fifth one is the strength irregularity. Sixth one is the presence of floating columns in the structures. And last one is the irregular modes of oscillation in the 2 principal directions of earthquake, that is the x direction and the z direction. Now, again, just like we have done in previous lecture, we are going to look at these irregularities one by means of sketch. Same time, we will also look at the criteria based on which this can be defined as irregularity, and also the modifications that the code is suggesting that you can do for each of these types of irregularity. So let us start with the first type of irregularity, which is known as the stiffness irregularity, or also known as the soft story. Right? Now, first of all, 3 figures are shown. In these 3 figures, different types of cases where the possibility or the presence of possibility of soft story is there is indicated. Where in the first case, if you see the figure on the left, then in that case you can see that the height of the ground story is higher as compared to that of the stories above. That is, for example, let us say that the ground story is having a height of 5 meters and the stories above are having a height of 3 meters, right? Then in the second case, the height of the stories is same throughout, but what is happening is that the number of columns present at the ground story is only 3 and the number of columns above ground story are 5. So as a result of that, there is going to be again change in the stiffness. And lastly, the third case is shown where the height of the intermediate story is high. For example, if you are having a high-rise structure or a skyscraper, then usually in case of skyscrapers, the presence of stilt floor is there. Stilt floor is the floor where in case of emergency, the residents of the building are likely to come and remain over there until the event is over. So, for example, in case of fire, in case of earthquake, the stilt floor is there where the residents or the occupants can come and remain in that particular floor until the time the buildings become safe for the occupancy, right? So this type of floor is also known as stilt floor. So when this event is going to take place, then in that case, lot of people are going to gather. That is, the entire amount of residents that are staying in the building are likely to come at that particular floor. So in order to have more ease of breathing and avoid the suffocation of the building, that is why usually the height of the stilt floor is more as compared to that of the other floors. So these are all different 3 types of cases that are shown. Now in all the three different cases, what we can see is that we know that the length of the column is directly proportional with the stiffness, right? So whenever the length is going to be changed, then as a result of that, the stiffness is also going to be changed. And at the same time, if more than the number of columns are present, then also the stiffness is likely to change because of the increase in the cross sectional area, right? So a soft story or the stiffness irregularity as it is termed, a soft story is a story where the lateral stiffness of the story is less than that of the story above, is less than that of the story above. That is the story, that is the lateral stiffness of the ground story is less as compared to the story above. If that is a situation, then that particular case will be considered as the case of soft story, right? And now what is the code that is suggesting? That the structural plant density should be calculated, that is SDP should be calculated, and after calculating SDP, the effect of unreinforced masonry in full should be taken into consideration wherever necessary. And once the effect is been considered, then in that case, this particular thing should be modeled in the structural model also. That is, whether you are modeling in StatPro, whether you are modeling in GitHub also, then that particular effect should be modeled in that particular software also. And then the forces should be considered for the design of columns and beams, right? So when you are going to consider the design the elements, then the design should be considered for the higher case, whether for you are getting higher amount of forces in bare frame or you are getting higher amount of forces in the SDP. That is where you have considered the effect of unforced masonry infills, right? Either of these two cases, wherever the forces are going to be more, those forces should be considered for the design of beams and columns. And at the same time, the code is also suggesting that the interstory drift should be limited to 0.2% of the story where the stiffness is done, right? So that is also another modification that the code is suggesting, or another limitation that the code is suggesting for the structures where the stiffness irregularity or soft story is present, right? Now coming back to the second story or the second category of irregularity, vertical irregularity, and that is the mass irregularity, right? So mass irregularity in a story is going to be defined as the irregularity where the seismic weight of a floor, where the seismic weight of the floor is more than 150% of the weight below. That is, as you can see in the figure, the floors where the mass is increased is shown by means of highlighted areas. That is, in the first figure you can see that higher amount of mass is present at the top level, and in the second figure you can see that the higher amount of mass is present at the fourth floor, and then it is present at the seventh floor, right? Now if these kind of situations are there, then in that case, if the seismic weight of the floor is more than 150% of the seismic weight of the floor below, then in that case it can be considered as a case of mass irregularity, where this type of conditions are likely to occur. For example, if you are having swimming pool at the top of the structure, then the possibility is that the weight of the structure is going to increase, right? Then the second case is if there is a change in occupancy at the higher level, that is from residential it is being used as an industrial purpose, or it is being used by installing some kind of machines for making certain household products, then in that case the weight of the structure is, the weight on the floor is likely to increase. So in both the cases, the possibility is that wherever the seismic weight is going to increase, then in that case, if it is increasing more than 150% of the floor below, then mass irregularity will be considered to be present in the structure. Then coming to the third case, where vertical geometric irregularity is shown, right? So in case of vertical geometric irregularity, you can see that the various figures are shown, wherein the base dimension is shown by L and the dimension at top is shown as A. Now A is the difference that is going to be there in the vertical offset from the extreme end to the base, right? So now it is telling that if this difference is more than 125% as compared to that of the story below, that is the vertical offset that you are seeing, if it is more than 125% of the length below, then in that case that particular type of category will be known as the vertical geometric irregularity. And the code is suggesting that in the lower seismic zone it is okay to have the vertical geometrical irregularity, but if it is in the higher zones, then in that case the effort should be made to do the dynamic analysis, and then the structure should be analyzed accordingly. And at the same time, the interstory drift should also be controlled in such a way that it is not exceeding 0.2% of the story where the irregularity is present, right? So that is the third category. Then the fourth category is the presence of in-plane discontinuity in the vertical elements, right? In the plan irregularity segment, we saw that the out-of-plane discontinuity, whereas in case of vertical irregularity, it is discussing about the in-plane discontinuity in the vertical element. So as you can see over here, the frame that is shown in the figure, where shear walls are shown, right? So in case of shear wall, it is seen that in the ground floor, the shear wall is located little bit on the inside, and then on the remaining floors, it is flushed with the outer corner of the building. So the code is telling that if this offset that is there between the ground floor and the first floor is more than 20% of the dimension at the base, then that particular structure will be considered as a structure having the vertical discontinuity, and that is the in-plane discontinuity of the vertical element. And in lower zones, zone 2 and zone 3, it is telling that the code in general is telling that this kind of discontinuity should be avoided wherever possible in the higher seismic zones, right? That is the fourth discontinuity that we have discussed, that is the in-plane discontinuity of the vertical element. Then we have the fifth category, which is also known as the strength irregularity, or it is also known as the weak story. Now, weak story is the story where the lateral strength of the story is going to be less than the story above. That is, as you can see in the figure, again, three cases are shown, similar to that of the soft story, where in the first case, the height of the ground floor is shown more. In the second case, number of columns present in the above floor are more than that of below. Then in the third case, the height of the intermediate floor is shown on the higher side. So in all these three cases, the possibility is that the lateral strength, in case of soft story, the word was lateral stiffness. But here in case of strength irregularity or weak story, the consideration is for the lateral strength, right? And that is, if the lateral strength is less than the story above, then in that case, it can be considered as a category of weak story. That is the fifth type of irregularity that the code is discussing. And lastly, the two other types of discontinuities that the code are discussing is the presence of floating columns and irregular modes of oscillation in the principal two directions. Now, floating columns are also known as stub columns, right? So, whenever there is going to be an abrupt change in the geometry of the structure, that is the length of the plan or the floor width of the plan, and then in that case, the stub column is usually provided by the structure engineer, right? So, code is telling that whenever these floating columns or stub columns will be present in the structure, then it will result in the concentrated damage. And this type of element should be avoided in the structural configuration. However, the presence of these structures or this structural element can be allowed, but it should not be part of the primary lateral force resisting system. That is, if you are having a moment resisting frame, then the moment resisting frame, which is going to carry the lateral loads from the top to the foundation level, should not have the presence of stub column. So these columns you can take as a gravity column, that is, they will carry only the axial load. They will not take any horizontal load, that is either in the x direction or the z direction. So if you are going to provide that release in the state or the ETABS accordingly, that is the release in the fx and fz direction, then you can provide this particular column to carry only the vertical load or the gravity load. But it cannot carry any lateral load as per the guidelines that is provided by IS 1893-2016. And lastly, the code is discussing regarding the irregular modes of oscillation in the principal two directions. Now, as we have discussed earlier also, that the lateral story or the lateral stiffness of any building is described by the stiffness of beam, column and the shear walls that are present in the building in each of these principal directions, that is in x direction also and z direction also. So, based on this presence of beams, columns and walls, you will be calculating the lateral stiffness, and based on that calculation, you will be able to calculate it and provide the things accordingly, right? But now what happens is that the code is telling that whenever this condition of irregular oscillation or irregular modes of oscillation in the principal two direction is possible, when the three modes, that the first three modes, that is first, second and third, that is the two translational mode and one torsional mode, these all three together do not combine to form 65% of the modal mass participation, because the code has given us a guideline that at least 65% participation should be there. So this irregular oscillation is likely to take place when these three modes together combine and they are not able to contribute 65% of the modal participation. That is the first condition. And second condition is that the fundamental natural time period in both the principal directions is closer to each other by 10% of the higher value. That is, if you are having time period in the first mode, if you are having time period in the second mode, then if the difference in this time period is less than 10%, then also the possibility of irregular modes of oscillation in the principal direction is possible. So now what is the code suggesting? Code is suggesting that in zone 2 and zone 3, the attempt should be made that at least 65% contribution should be made available through these first three zones, that is 2 translational, 1 torsional zone. However, in zone 4 and 5, in addition to this criteria of 65%, the code is also saying that the natural time period between the two principal directions should be away from each other by at least 10% of the larger value, right? So if this criteria is satisfied and the criteria of 65% contribution modal mass participation is achieved, then in that case the irregular geometry can be avoided. Otherwise, the structural configuration of the lateral strength and stiffness should be reviewed, and accordingly the modification should be done in the structural plan in order to eliminate this type of irregularity in the structure. So these are the 7 different types of vertical irregularities that are possible in a structure, and as a result of which the performance of the structure can be hampered. I hope you have understood the criteria of these vertical irregularities and what are the possible suggestions that the code is also giving. Stay tuned for the further lecture series. Thank you.